Hello neighbor, this is Curt with eTrailer, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Thule WingBar Evo roof rack, and we're going to see how it fits and how it installs on our 2025 Jeep Wagoneer. Now, very often when we're planning for a trip, we're going to run into those situations where we're going to have gear that either won't fit in the vehicle or we just don't want riding in the vehicle with us. There are options for rooftop cargo such as roof boxes, roof baskets, kayak carriers, ski and snowboard carriers, all sorts of things that can be mounted up there as an alternate to using something in the hitch like a basket or cargo carrier or even a trailer. A lot of times what that's going to do is just increase the footprint of the vehicle. It's going to make it more difficult to park and maneuver the vehicle, and frankly for a Wagoneer it's a pretty big vehicle as it is. So being able to store something on the roof has a lot of advantages. Now the Thule WingBar Evo is a arrow style crossbar, which means that it has this kind of ovular shape. It's going to make it a lot more aerodynamic. So when you're traveling down the road, you won't get that extra vibration, and therefore you won't get that road noise. It'll be considerably lower compared to your traditional square or round bars. It is an overhanging bar, however, it does not come out significantly from the tower. So the clamp mounted accessories you can use on this, you're going to probably have to stick in between the towers. However, the T-slot that we have up here at the top, it's accessible right here through our end cap. That you're going to have the full 53 inches of bar space to be able to use. These are also going to have a 165-pound weight capacity. However, you always want to double check your owner's manual and see what the roof cargo capacity is for the vehicle itself. If that number is lower than the 165, that's the capacity you're going to have to go with. You'll have to go with whatever number is lower. Now let's get up on the roof and take a few measurements and see how it's fitting on the Wagoneer. Now the Wagoneer has these flush rails, so the mounting points that we have for our roof rack are fixed. We're not going to be able to maneuver these closer or further apart. And there's also a third mounting location further back toward the rear of the vehicle. However, you won't be using that on a 2-bar setup. If you were to purchase a 3rd bar and put it up, that would be where you would put it, or it's meant for those larger platforms and larger baskets that can install up here as well. But while we're looking at our WingBar Evo here, the first measurement that I want to take is what is my crossbar spread. So I'm going to measure from the middle of my front bar to the middle of my next bar, and we're at 29.5 inches. And the reason that number is so important to know, every rooftop accessory has a minimum and a maximum crossbar spread that it can be used with. And at 29.5 inches, that to me puts us kind of right in the sweet spot. Most of those measurements need to be between 25 and 35 inches, so being at 29.5, I'm not too worried about finding rooftop accessories that are going to go with this setup. The other thing I'm going to take a look at is how much height this is actually adding onto our vehicle. And this is going to add another 5 inches of height to the top of it, so if you're concerned with roof clearance, take your overall vehicle height, add 5 inches, and then the height of your accessory as well, and you'll know what kind of rooftop clearance you actually have. Underneath our bar, we're going to have 3.5 inches of clearance, which is more than enough room for those clamp-mounted accessories to reach around. And the other measurement that I want to take is, I had mentioned that we don't have much room here on the overhang for those clamp-mounted accessories. We're going to be limited to what we could do inside the bars. So just if we want to know what that measurement is, that's going to leave us with 45.25 inches of bar space to use those clamp mounted accessories. Now, installation, as I said, is fixed. There is a custom fit kit that specifically goes onto these flush rails. So stick around and I'll show you exactly how we got this roof rack on the roof of our Wagoneer. So with the installation, our first order of business is going to be to put up our mounting brackets. There are 4 mounting bracket locations. There's 2 on the passenger side. We have one here where we'll be installing a bracket. We have one at the second row, and then on the driver's side, it's the same position directly across from these. So if you've got a trim tool or a flathead screwdriver, go ahead and grab that, and we're going to pop these plugs out to start. Then we're going to take our bracket, which is going to look just like this. We want basically the rail here to go in where this cavity is. with the open side on the outside and the plate of it right here. We're going to have 2 bolt holes here that'll line up with our holes there. And we're going to find in our fit kit these bolts right here and an Allen key that goes with them. This is a security tool, so that's a measure against anybody coming along and taking your rack off of the rails. So we're going to start by just threading a couple of bolts in and getting them started. Now I am tightening them down by hand. It's just a little bit easier to do than this Allen key. They are pretty close to the roof line, so getting a complete turn on this is a little bit difficult from the jump. Now, one of the things that I did notice when putting some of the other brackets on is if I go in to tighten one of these bolts, it is an oversized hole that the bolt goes through. So what I notice is if I over tighten it, one side just kind of pops up a little bit too high. So as I tighten these down, I'm also putting a little bit pressure over the top of them to make sure that they go down flush. And when I get them hand tightened pretty well, I'm going to go ahead and grab my tool at that point, since I don't really need to make complete rotations with it. And I'm going to go ahead and tighten them all the way down. And once all of our brackets are installed, we can move on to assembling our towers. Now, all 4 towers use the same parts. They could all be assembled at the same time. So what you'll do is you'll take your tower here. I'm going to go ahead and remove this nut. And the clamp parts are going to be stamped for us, okay? So we're going to have parts stamped with an A, with a B, and with a C. And they're going to go on in that order. So I'm going to take this part, stamped A. I'm going to put it in so that the bolt threads through this hole in the middle, and these 2 tabs go into these portions here up on top. It's going to go in just like that. Now I'm going to hold that in place and turn it over on its back. I'm going to take part B, which is this rubber foot pad, and I'm going to get this installed as well. Now it's important that this back end of the A clamp make sure that that's going over this middle section of your rubber foot pad. We're just going to press that down into place till it's flush. Then I'm going to take the C portion and I'm going to put this on so that this part up here, this tab goes through it, and this hole in the middle, the bolt will go through it. So I'm going to put the tab in there, bring it down over the bolt, and then I'm going to replace this nut on there as well. Now I'm only going to really loosely thread it because I want to have as much of this clamp available to go on my mounting bracket up there. And once that's all assembled, we could get it onto our crossbar. To do that, we're going to go ahead and depress this tab here and remove our end cap. Then there's this slot up here in these T-fittings. We're just going to slip that on just like that. And at this point, we could just replace the end cap and we're ready to get it up on the roof. So I'm going to go ahead and send this across over there to my passenger side. Just kind of, I don't need to seat it perfectly. I just need to get it in the right neighborhood. On this end, I'm going to go ahead, and this one I am going to go ahead and seat really well. Now, the cavity underneath our foot pad fits pretty perfectly over this mounting bracket. So I'm going to get that on there, and I'm going to make sure this front portion is going to be able to reach underneath there. And see, it'll sit down on it really nicely once it's in the right position. I'm just going to give a few turns of this bolt just to make sure it doesn't slide around on me as I kind of maneuver a little bit. And I'm going to repeat this process over on the passenger side. So at this point, what I'm going to want to do is measure my overhang. I could slide this bar back and forth a little bit, but what I'm looking for is to get an equal measurement as far as how much this bar is overhanging on the driver's side and the passenger side. I want to adjust it until that actually matches up. And once I get it to a point where it's matched up on both sides, we can go ahead and get these completely tightened down. Now, one of the things is as you're tightening this bolt, simultaneously it is clamping down on our mounting brackets to secure it there. It's also tightening down on the crossbar itself to keep it from sliding back and forth. Now, to get this tightened down completely, Thule does provide us with a tool to do that, and it is a torquing tool. So it's going to let us know when we've got it tightened enough. We're going to hear a nice loud pop, just like that. Once you hear that on both the driver and the passenger side, everything's tightened down accordingly. I like to give it a good shake test, make sure nothing's shifting back and forth. The vehicle is moving, but nothing on my roof rack is. So now for the last step, which is to put on our tower covers. Now, before I put my cover into place, I just want to mention something about it. Out of the box, Thule is going to give you these plastic lock cores. These can be locked and unlocked with a flathead screwdriver or with a coin like a nickel or something like that. But if you really want that added security, I would highly recommend you take advantage of Thule's One Key system. Thule's One Key system is going to allow you to buy metal lock cores with the keys to go with them, and you can get them key-to-like to other Thule accessories. So if you have a Thule roof box that you like to use or a Thule bike rack that you like to use, you can actually request that the locks for these be key-to-like to those. That way you don't have a keychain full of Thule items, you don't know what goes with what. If it's got a Thule lock, you're going to have the key to go with it. But in order to get this up here onto our tower, there's these two tabs you see here. They're going to go in right there at the bottom, and it's just going to kind of click on into place from there. Then you could, in our case, take our flathead screwdriver, get it locked. Now everything's good to go. We can get our roof rack loaded up and head out on our adventure. So that's really it for the installation. Pretty simple process. The most difficult thing is actually getting up there to be able to do it all. But the position of this roof rack to me is perfect. They've got it in a perfect spot to where you could just stand right up here in your door threshold. You're right in between the bars, getting perfect access to your cargo and your rooftop accessories. But if you still have questions about the Thule WingBar Evo and about how it fits on the Jeep Wagoneer, go ahead and leave those questions in the comments below. We'd love to answer those for you. It'll help you and other neighbors just like you to make the best decision for yourself. Once again, this is Curt with eTrailer. Thanks for stopping by.